Okay, welcome back to our channel, MegaWhale team. Thanks for tuning into another video. Today's video is going to be a Bitcoin update. We're going to be talking about the short term and the long term, but more specifically in this video, we're going to be talking about that short term descending channel formation that we have formed over the last few weeks. We've talked a lot about the larger time frame. We've talked a lot about where we think the price will go, and we've talked a lot about what points we need to break over to become bullish and what points, if we lose, will become bearish. If you want to find out about any of those, I suggest watching two videos. This one here posted a day ago, and this one here posting 3 days ago. We talked about the FOMO discussion, we talked about interest rates, we talked about how it affects on-risk assets, and a whole range of other things. It was an 18-minute video, very, very long, very in detail. Probably the most detailed video I've done on this channel. Nevertheless, let's get straight back into the chart today, and we're going to be talking about the hourly to start with. So Bitcoin is in fact in a descending channel. Now a descending channel is very similar to a bull flag. The only difference really is that the descending channel is an extended version. It lasts for at least 2+ weeks. And this descending channel has been going on for now a little bit under nearly 2 weeks, in fact, 13 days and 23 hours. So we are in fact in a descending channel. Now we already know a descending channel is a bullish structure. If we take a measured move of a descending channel from the first touch to the apex of the bottom and apply it to the breakout point, we can see that this descending channel breakout should take us above $40,000. Now we can't say for sure. There's a lot to go over today's video, and of course we are in a macro bearish structure, therefore we are still expecting drops down further. Now, we did say if we lost $44,000, we would drop down and we would retest this $42,000 range. We have in fact done that. And now we've bounced a few times at this range, bouncing at least 3 times. So what we're going to do today, we're going to be taking a look at the implications of this descending channel. We're going to be talking about a potential relief from here. The question is, are we going to continue downwards from here, just like this, down, down, down? Or are we going to bounce here, maybe gain some solid ground back up to 44,000, maybe push through it, retest this zone, continue downwards, or potentially even go upwards? That is kind of what we're going to be talking about today. So we're going to be taking a look at the shorter term time frame to kind of grasp the direction of this short term trend and try to give you guys our honest and accurate opinion of where we think it's going. So before we get into that, I'm going to knock off the bearish scenario first. The bearish scenario we've already talked about, just to reiterate it, is that we will find either a bounce at this range here or at this range here. The price will continue to one of these levels. Now, it doesn't have to directly drop to these levels. It can continue upwards and then come down, and that will still be valid. The question, or I guess the important thing to invalidate that, would be a break back above this major resistance. So we said in the previous video, the price will most likely bounce between these ranges, just as it did bounce between these range with your fake outs to the up and bottom side, because we are in kind of a larger range of a chop still. We are bouncing between a major resistance and a major support within the middle of a macro structure. So really important. I'm going to say it again, we're bouncing between a major support and resistance within the middle of a macro structure. So it's very, very likely we're going to see a lot of volatility, and we have seen quite a fair bit of volatility for Bitcoin. I know, like I've said, altcoins will get hammered if Bitcoin crashes any further, and they are starting to see some macro structures being broken. Now I can bring up, for example, if I bring up a coin like Gala, I'm just going to show you a quick example. So let's take Gala, for example. Gala's in a very tricky spot right now. We're in this lower sub-region of the ascending, or should I say symmetrical triangle on the large time frame. Personally, Gala would be a good entry if you had a good risk tolerance, you wanted to try catch a bottom. As we can see, we have our symmetrical triangle formation with our first support line, which we ended up breaking and teasing around, and then our lower major support line, which we're currently just above. So we don't have a lot of movement room downwards from here for altcoins. If they move any lower, we will more likely see a significant crash around the market. I do not think we're going to see that yet, which leads me to believe that Bitcoin's local bottom may be in, and we may actually see some kind of temporary relief here. And the question is, will that relief lead to a macro uptrend? And will that relief be strong enough to get us back above not only the 45,000 to 45,500 range, but the $48,000 major resistance leading us up into an uptrend. So let's get into the analysis. Let's bring up the RSI, because RSI is really, really important, guys, when it comes to predicting trends and of course bottoms and all that cool stuff. And first and foremost, we can already see RSI increasing, price decreasing. We already know what that is, guys. That's a bullish divergence. We're looking pretty decent. We're going to draw our trend line down from here, and we can see another really cool thing, and that is we've broken out of this short-term RSI resistance and actually come down, retest it. But if we zoom up, I'm going to zoom up on it here. Oh, wrong button. We're going to zoom up on it. Not only have we retested the RSI declining resistance line, but we've bounced it, and we've bounced that 9 moving average. All right, guys, so that is pretty crucial. That's indicating we're actually going to see a potential move upwards here. And like I said before, if we're able to break above this midline, we will most definitely push back up to 44,000. And this may just be a small little move that happens over the next few days, and we crash back down another 10% all the way back down into the zone. But a 6% move on Bitcoin, particularly with altcoins in the scenario or positions they are in, could lead to some great trading opportunities and some really nice relief market wide. So what I'm leaning towards is I'm optimistic for a bounce. If we break over this midline, I'll be very basically certain that we're pushing up to $44,000. So what happens from $44,000? Right now we're in this zone here. We're more likely to bounce than to continue downwards. What I'm going to do real quickly, I'm going to show you something quite interesting. And the reason I say we're more likely to bounce than to continue downwards is because charts, technical indicators, all this stuff, they're invertible. All right, guys, they are invertible. So we're inverting the chart. I'm going to show you why. A descending channel is the same as a rising channel. It is just inverted. So if you saw this right here, what are the chances of the price pushing upwards here and continuing? All right, it is quite low. It is quite low. Selling pressure is dying off, which means buying pressure is starting to increase. We're already finding support. The RSI is broken out. We have that divergence. Momentum is shifting. It is more likely here that we come down and retest back down to this bottom support range before we either push up again into this range, continue downwards, which is actually upwards, or go at a different trend altogether. So guys, I'm leaning towards the bullish short term. Of course, we've avoided this entire drop here. We saved ourselves losing a lot of money in the last few days, which is really nice. But the short term is looking a little bit more bullish now. We're going to bring up some more indicators to see if we can confirm our directional narrative. Because what I like to do when trading is I like to, first and foremost, I look at the chart. I identify support resistance zones. So there's red lines, horizontal resistances, gray lines, gray zones are horizontal support and resistance zones. From then, I like to identify macro structures. So this ascending channel is a macro structure. I then indicate these macro trend lines, so ascending trend lines, descending trend lines, support resistances, which are diagonal. From then, I then indicate our short-term structures, and I like to break it down from there. So the short-term structure is showing potential bullishness, where the macro structure is bearish, which means we have a potential to break out of this short-term structure to push up to the resistance of the macro structure before getting rejected again. So we do have to keep in mind that the bearish scenarios are very much valid until this macro structure breaks. But just because we're in a macro bearish structure, it doesn't mean the price can't move up and down within that structure and we get great opportunities to buy. And that is kind of what we're seeing now. We're seeing an opportunity here where we could lead to a short-term relief within this macro bearish structure that could provide some opportunities to make profits on the short term. So looking at momentum, if we're going to go to the daily, it all looks pretty miserable. All right, everything's heading down. We do have a significant indicator here, which is showing that selling pressure in this last 1 day period has decreased in comparison to the previous day. All right, and I think that's a really important distinction to make. When you see, and I'm going to bring it up, when you see these red, dark reds go to light red, it means that selling pressure is still dominant. All right, we have dominant selling pressure, but it is less than the previous day. All right, so what does that mean? It's generally we see that occur as the price bottoms out, as buying pressure slowly takes over and then leads to a short-term rally, short-term uptrend, macro uptrend. It depends on a lot of things, but that's kind of what we'll see. So we're seeing that occur on the 1 day, and of course the 1 day is more smooth. So we go to a smaller time frame, we can see it's actually happening over an extended period, but it's being more drawn out. It's kind of shifting between strong selling, weaker selling, strong selling, weaker selling, but more or less it is converging to a point of which we may see a momentum flip. And we can support that because we are at the bottom, or should I say we are at that support range over here on this channel, and we're pretty much just slightly above our major horizontal support zone. So it is indicating a move upwards, and personally guys, I think entering it with some altcoins here, particularly something like Gala, which is very, very low risk where it is right now. We take a look at Gala, guys. It is right on that, pretty much right on that support range. You know, the most you can lose here is like 2%, and you could probably get a nice bounce in your 10% bounce here if it goes well. So entering on some altcoins now would be ideal, and I just want to swing it back to Bitcoin because we're going on a bit of a tangent. But we're gonna assume that the bullish scenario will play out, and we're gonna go upwards. So from this scenario, we're gonna assume this is gonna happen. What would we have to see for this to be invalidated? And I think that's what we're gonna cover now. So let's go to a small time frame again. We'll go to 4 hours. What would we need to see? Well, we would need to see the candle close below this daily, this 4-hour open. So if we see this green candle reverse, or for example, this candle closes above and the next candle engulfs it and closes it below, then we can confirm that this bullish move upwards is probably not going to happen, and we will continue downwards into a lower level. I've got an alert going off. I'll have to take a look at that in just a moment. But yes, that is what we expect to see. And obviously for the macro, we've already talked about the macro. This is more about the short term today. So guys, if you have any questions so far, leave them down below. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. You can follow us on Twitter and Telegram. The links are in the description for that. So before we end the video, I do want to go over a few more things, and of course we'll bring it back to the daily, and we're going to be talking about some more technical indicators on the daily to try to confirm, you know, what is happening. And the daily, of course, is a more smooth version of these smaller time frames, meaning it takes the information or the data on the smaller time frames, compiles it, and gives more of an average view. So using a daily to predict trend reversals is not ideal. You'll never catch the exact bottom or exact bounces or exact tops using a daily, purely because it is smoothed. So if we take a look at the daily here, it is showing an indication that we have this midline, the Gaussian channel, pushing upwards here, and it's pushing into this channel, this descending channel, which is really good to see, which can act as some support. I've said already on the daily, if we do lose 41,313, we will see a drop down to this dotted trend line, which is 40,000. And of course, if we lose 40,000, well guys, that's pretty much over for Bitcoin for a while. The trend will basically continue, and that will hit my $22,000 and $26,000 target. All right, on the uptrend, once again, to reiterate, if we are able to break above the 200-day moving average, which is still converging on top, it's just sitting on top, hasn't really moved much, 48,200 now, 48,200, we will continue upwards into the $50,000 to $54,000 range. All right, guys, it is as simple as that. To summarize the video, short term, we're looking primed for a potential relief, a small little relief up to 44,000. The larger term, we are still looking bad, but we have to be aware that the macro can change because the macro is smoothed. In essence, guys, be cautious. If you're going to jump into the market now, you have some low risk entries, and it's always good to capitalize on low risk entries. And with that being said, I will catch you in the next video.